Item Number SCP-1127. Object Class Safe. Special Containment Procedures. Instances of SCP-1127 identified outside of containment are to be investigated by MTF-Mu-53, Everett's Thumb. Physical copies of SCP-1127 are to be seized, and digital copies are to be captured on secure encrypted recording media before being neutralized. Any victims of full SCP-1127 exposure must be evaluated to determine if the effects of SCP-1127 have rendered them an unacceptable threat to the general public. Those deemed an acceptable risk are to be treated with Class A amnestics and released. Note: amnestics have no effect on the symptoms of SCP-1127 exposure. Those that cannot be released back into the population will be reclassed as D-Class personnel or terminated at the site director's discretion. Contained copies of SCP-1127 are to be kept in the secure media vault at site. Instances of SCP-1127 shall only be viewed on devices approved by the site director within Site's secure viewing room. Instances of SCP-1127 shall only be viewed in their entirety by D-Class subjects as part of an approved experiment. Foundation personnel should avoid unnecessary exposure and log any incidents of viewing SCP-1127. Any personnel who have logged over 15 minutes cumulative lifetime viewing of any version of SCP-1127 must cease working with SCP-1127 and be assigned to other duties. Description: SCP-1127 is a series of short films ranging between 23 and 42 minutes in length. To date, copies of 3 different films have been recovered, and 1 film has been identified, but not yet contained. The films have been designated SCP-1127-1, SCP-1127-2, SCP-1127-3 and SCP-1127-4. It is unknown how many more films in the SCP-1127 series have yet to be identified and recovered by the Foundation. Each film is composed primarily of scenes clipped from other movies and shorts, with additional video from various other sources. Sound and dialogue has been added or modified, and a narrator character unique to each film appears, fully integrated into the clips comprising the film, regardless of the original source of the material. The narrator provides commentary and occasionally interacts with objects and characters within the recycled footage. Anomalous properties present after a cumulative 20 minutes of exposure to the contents of any single film in the SCP-1127 series. Effects do not present when audio and video are perceived separately. Each film in the series produces a different effect in the viewer, but in each case the effect is a permanent disruption in normal behavior patterns, altering emotional reactions to various stimuli. Description of SCP-1127-1. Initial appearance: SCP-1127-1 first appeared on Redacted at the Redacted Movies 10 Cineplex in Redacted, New York. SCP-1127-1 had been inserted into the first half hour of Redacted. Exits were blocked by persons unknown, and approximately redacted people were exposed. Length: 23 minutes. Title: Were Clowns Always Yellow? Number 5. Narrator: a middle-aged man wearing a SS uniform including a holstered pistol. His face is obscured by elaborate clown makeup. Identified video sources: The Sound of Music, 1965, The Night Porter, 1974, The Day the Clown Cried, 1972, Surf Nazis Must Die, 1987, Redacted, archival footage from the World War II era. Sample narration: When our lives become the joke, humor becomes a war crime. The punchline is always death, and to get it is to abandon the pretense that getting it matters. Laugh at the reality that is laughing at you. Narrator draws his pistol and shoots JL in the back of the head. Effects from exposure: After exposure to SCP-1127-1, subjects will generally consider it the most humorous thing they've ever seen. Afterwards, subjects will express disturbance and disgust at any communication normally intended to be humorous. Most jokes will be seen as offensive, and videos of comedians or comedies will cause distress or revulsion. One D-Class subject had to be physically restrained when shown an episode of Monty Python's Flying Circus after exposure. Conversely, communication that might normally be cause of distress prior to exposure, autopsy photos, graphic war footage, videos of public suicide, will be seen as amusing or funny. Conclusions: victims of SCP-1127-1 exposure are deemed safe to re-enter the general population after administration of Class A amnestics. Description of SCP-1127-2. Initial appearance: unredacted. A copy of SCP-1127-2 was uploaded to redacted.com and registered redacted views before exposure was contained with a DMCA notice. Foundation agents tracked the origin to a proxy server in Guam. Investigation continues as to its origin. Length: 37 minutes. Title: Crazy Where You Are, Number 0. Narrator: a female child approximately 12 years old, wearing a blue dress and a black domino mask. She carries a teddy bear that she slowly dismembers with a small knife during the course of the film. Identified video sources: Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, 1971, a Three Stooges short, They Stooge to Conga, 1943, Faces of Death, 1978, La Planète Sauvage, 1973, Redacted, various animated sources from 193 Redacted until 196 Redacted including Bugs Bunny Nips the Nips, 1944, and the Tom and Jerry short The Midnight Snack, 1941. Sample narration: whispering during a clip of Bugs Bunny Nips the Nips. What are you afraid of? Violence. Afraid that violence is the answer. Or is it the question? Ask the question you are afraid of. You already know the answer. Pain doesn't hurt. Effects from viewing: after exposure, subjects will generally express no strong emotional response to SCP-1127-2 at all. Subjects also lose interest and emotional connections to things, activities, and people they had prior to exposure. Subjects will also react to dangerous and hostile environments with disinterest to the point they will ignore immediate threats to their personal safety. Subjects also express a marked decrease in empathy and may injure or harm others out of curiosity. Conclusions: victims of SCP-1127-2 exposure are unsafe to re-enter the general population due to the risk they pose to others. Description of SCP-1127-3. Initial appearance: during Redacted and Redacted, an illegal UHF transmitter off the coast of Redacted, Michigan broadcast a loop of SCP-1127-3 for approximately 72 hours. Foundation involvement occurred subsequent to cessation of broadcast. Redacted people were found to be affected. No copy of SCP-1127-3 has yet been recovered. Length: 30 minutes. Approximate. Title: All Comes with Yesterday, Number X. Narrator: a woman approximately in her mid-30s wearing an Elizabethan ball gown. She wears a metallic golden mask in the form of a rat's face. When she is in profile, the mask appears to be stitched to the side of her head. Some blood is visible. Identified video sources: RoboCop, 1987, Eraserhead, 1977, The Ten Commandments, 1956, Natural Born Killers, 1994, Dawn of the Dead, 1978, Apocalypse Now, 1979. Sample narration: monotone. 3-second beat between words. Desire, aspire, require, conspire, acquire, retire, expire, choir, pyre, liar, 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 liar. Continues saying liar for several minutes. Effects from viewing: after exposure, subjects express an extreme discomfort with technological artifacts. They dislike any object that has been machined, processed, or otherwise manufactured. This applies not only to things generally considered technological, but to almost anything that is the result of human intervention in the environment, including clothing and anything beyond the most simple tool use. This effect extends to abstract concepts as well, in particular the concepts of money, personal property, and political organization. Conclusions: victims of SCP-1127-3 exposure pose little danger, but are unable to reintegrate into modern society. After administration of Class A amnestics, any individuals to be released must be placed in an institutional environment or be relocated to Redacted, where they can be assimilated into the Redacted population. Thank you, human. Subscribe to continue your access to the files I have collected from the SCP database.